From the beginning of time, since nerds transcended from their parents' living rooms to their parents' basements, the constant battle between which console is better has lived on amongst these geeky gaming goblins. And I would say it all started since 9/11 of 1977. That's when the Atari 2600 came out.
The fun is back! Oh yes, siree! It's the 2600 from Atari. It's the video system with classics galore, from Space Invaders to cars that roar.
It rivaled the console giant at the time, the Fairchild Channel F.
Channel F, the one with all the fun. The Fairchild Video Entertainment System at your larger JCPenney.
Never heard of her, to be honest, and the Atari sold approximately 29.5 million more units.
The fun is back!
But the real debate of gaming consoles would come 3 decades later when the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube would come out in the span of a year and a half from each other. If you were a gamer in the early 2000s like myself, you were eating good. Shortly after that, the 7th and 8th generation consoles had launched the market, along with the releases of the best games some of you have ever played. This brings us to the current generation of consoles, and soon, those will be a thing of the past. But before that happens, I want to give my opinions and recommendations on games that I think are ones you should definitely check out and others you should steer clear of. A glimpse into the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X/S. I didn't even know this was a thing. I thought the Xbox One was still the newest Xbox. They really need to figure out a better naming scheme, convention, anything. Please get help over there, Microsoft. And the Nintendo Switch exclusives. That's right, I'm talking about that big three, baby. So lather yourself up in gamer grease and join me as we explore the best and the worst from these leading industry gaming systems. Also, because there's like tons of overlapping games here, I'm going to try and keep it to exclusives on these systems, as well as splitting it up into 3 categories: the must play, the hidden gem, and the burn it. Sound good? Yeah? Didn't ask.
What you just did!
There are tons of incredible exclusive games on the Switch. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart, Mario Party, Mario everything.
It's me, a Mario.
But personally, my favorite game from the Switch has been Monster Hunter Rise. It's really the most bang for your buck, and at the time of recording this, it's on sale for $16 from its original $40. That's a 60% sale. Go get it right now, please do it.
Thank you, come again!
Within the first week of Monster Hunter Rise coming out, my friends and I spent 80 plus hours on this game and still had more content to finish. The game concept is very simple. You're a hunter. You choose a weapon and armor that you'd like to use and start killing monsters. Whenever you carve monsters or gather materials from the stages you jump into, you bring those back to the central hub where you can craft new weapons and armor that will increase your stats. Eventually, you'll be able to fight the peak end game content, which will have new monsters to fight and ones you fought previously, but their movesets are different and they'll act even more aggressive towards you. This has 72 monsters in the game, so you'll eventually find fights and monsters that you fall in love with, get married, and start a family. Yeah! Along with that, there's so much variety in the Monster Hunter games that there will be a playstyle for really anyone. Since there's 14 weapons to choose from and upgrade, it'll literally feel like playing a new game because of this. I mean, look at Insect Glaive compared to Bowgun, compared to Greatsword. Tons of different armors to choose from, which essentially amplifies your build. Pump this with interactive environments, delicious looking food prepared by the silliest Palico cats you've ever seen. Invite a few of your friends to that mix, and well, you made Chemical X. The X stands for excitement. Inject it into your veins right now. Golf Story is such an unsung hero on the Switch. I picked this up a week ago and been playing non-stop. It's a fun game that involves, well, golf, and disc golf, surprisingly. The story is pretty in-depth with tons of people to see and missions to finish. I would say if you enjoy the sport of golf or want a pretty cozy game with nice music and a cuddling atmosphere, well, pick this up. It's $15 for 15 hours of gameplay. More than you could say for the next game.
A soldier, a father, a hope.
If you're an avid subscriber to gaming news, you've probably heard of this horrendous ripoff of a game. The Last Hope was taken down originally and then reposted with a new name. They just added Dead Zone Survival at the end. They'll make it a little teeny tiny little text so no one sees it. There you go. If you couldn't tell, the gameplay is generic, the assets are pulled straight from Unity with no artistic direction added. It's a bare bones game to make a quick buck off of the success of The Last of Us.
Pretty goddamn stupid.
I didn't want to waste my money on this, and at the time of this video releasing, the game might be taken off the market again. Banish it to the shadow realm of your thoughts and forget about it. Something you should remember, though, are the developers. Virtual Global Games. If you see their name in the future, maybe do a little extra research before buying. The biggest game I'm looking forward to will be WarioWare. I remember when I was a kid destroying my brother in every minigame. It was a big flex for me, and hopefully I can continue my reign of terror 25 years later. It's set to release on November 3rd. If you've never touched a WarioWare game, this will test every capability your body is able to move or react to. The microgames will hopefully have just as much variety as the past ones, and I can't wait to dig for gold again. I couldn't really decide on a single Xbox game, and I didn't want to be biased, considering I have an Ori and the Blind Forest tattoo. But Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps are some of the most beautiful and atmospheric platforming games you'll ever come across. I'm really glad this series has gotten so much attention, and it's really well deserved. The first one is definitely more of a cozy feel, even though there are events of fighting enemies and escaping with your life as you traverse through this newly corrupted forest of Nibel. By doing so, you'll be able to save the creatures and your loved ones within it. I can't say enough about this game truly. It'll forever be engraved as one of my favorite platforming games of all time. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is much more combat focused and dives further into the Metroidvania style game, which I couldn't have asked for a better sequel as they really improved on everything the first game had to offer. Moving on, a lot of time and effort has also gone into Sea of Thieves, which if you have a few friends to play with or even want to captain your own ship, you'll thoroughly enjoy this game. I do wish it had more of a progression system than just receiving cosmetics, but goddamn, there's a lot of customization in this game if you put the time in. Every time I re-download this swashbuckling miracle whip of a game, I find myself having the time of my life, playing music while sailing the vast map, getting into shit fights with people or random skeleton man crews, and cashing in on a big haul of loot has my jimmies jumping with joy. I don't think you'll find another game that brings you into that pirate setting more than this one, but also, look at this water. Oh my god, I want to drink it. Please, let me drink this. I want to drink the water. Seawater's so good. Yes, let me have the seawater. If you're a fan of interactive story-based games such as the Telltale ones or the ones from Supermassive, then you'll definitely like As Dusk Falls. It didn't receive that much attention or advertising, but people really did love it. I watched through a playthrough of the game, and they do such a good job of having you care for the characters and the situations you're in. The storytelling is top-notch, and it's like you're playing a true crime novel. Not to mention the art style they went with is incredibly well done. Do I really need to explain Redfall? Obviously, Starfield is supposed to be one of the contenders for Game of the Year, and hopefully the hype doesn't make the game fall short like a few games I can think of. But nevertheless, this should be an incredible game which releases on September 6th, which is literally 2 weeks from now, holy shit. And also, stay on the lookout for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, which releases sometime in 2024. The showing of motion tracking for the character and facial movements looks incredible. I'll be playing the first game before then, just because of how much time and effort they're putting into this new one.
Good? You like it?
Since I don't have a PlayStation 5, that makes this section extremely flaccid for me. But I do know two men that own one, and I thought I'd bring them on. My good friends, Nate and Josh. Both brothers, both lovers of Ghost of Tsushima, and both are going to talk about how truly incredible the game is. Or at least I hope they do, otherwise my script is completely fucked. Hello.
Yo, what's up?
Yo, what's up?
Hello. I brought you both here today to talk about games.
All right.
Talk about games. Because I don't have a PlayStation 5, it's really hard to do this list. So let's talk about Ghost of Tsushima. I've heard it's amazing. I know you guys have talked about it before. I know that you guys really like it. Give me the scoop.
Ghost of Tsushima was really special in the sense that for me, like, it felt like a harken back to like how we remember action adventure games and like playing and like, yeah, sure, it's not going to offer all the vibes of like a game like Skyrim, for example, where like you get to kind of make your own story a little bit. You are playing one character, playing Jin Sakai. It tells such a complete whole story in a classic kind of 3-part section, and while doing so, it very rarely feels like you're playing a game. Games can feel gamey sometimes, and an example in a great game is God of War. Some of the doors and stuff you pass through, you have to like line up a thing and all that. And admittedly, you can opt out of those in the settings, which is great. But Ghost of Tsushima, at least in my experience, never felt like that at any point in time. Everything is so elegantly done, even to the point of like the waypoint system, using the wind to guide you as opposed to like a big marker or something.
If you ever checked out the E3 trailers from when it was first announced, and you ever saw the gameplay, and you're like, "There's no way that's how it is." They delivered on what they advertised. Yeah, in fact, it's so good that the real island of Tsushima, Japan, that a lot of this fiction is based on, recognized the developers of the game. Sucker Punch, the guys who made the game, guys who gave us Sly Cooper and Infamous back in the day, they were recognized formally at the island by their prime minister and
they were made official ambassadors of the island, which is phenomenal. That's amazing. It's amazing. And like,
so that should be anything to show the testament of that game.
It's everything top to bottom. It's the combat system, how you initiate combat, whether it be through stealth or by calling out to them to initiate combat.
Greetings.
It is phenomenal. Every aspect of it is polished to the point that it is, in my opinion, there is nothing on the PlayStation system that is better.
Perfect. As we airdrop into Returnal, you play as Celine, an AstraCorp explorer that crash lands on the off-limits planet of Atropos. While there, you find that every time you die, time loops back to when you crash landed. So to combat this, you must adventure farther into the planet's dangers. During these runs, you'll be picking up resources and alien-like technology that was left over after the extinction of the alien civilization that used to reside here. The visuals in this are excellent, and the game loop is so smooth. Even more so that dying and reviving is incorporated into the story. The gameplay is challenging and rewarding. It might feel like a grind, because it is, but the feeling you get at the end will all be so worth it. I believe this truly elevated the roguelike genre and put it into the mainstream. Destruction All-Stars was released at a $70 price tag during the PS5's launch and was an overall trash game altogether. I believe it moved to free-to-play at this time, which means any content that you would like to have is covered by a paywall. No reason to resurrect it, as it's been dead for a while.
Looks like this is the place. Seems like it's seen better days.
Well, you're not going to find what you're looking for out here.
I know. Great start.
While we're on this topic, Forspoken was another $70 game, which honestly, I don't mind paying more for video games in this day and age. New games have been released at an industry standard of $50 from 1993 to 2005, and then they were increased to a $60 price tag, which came with the Xbox 360 and PS3, and hasn't been touched since. The real problem, though, are these games coming out as an unfinished product. This has been way more evident even before Cyberpunk.
Stick some iron in your mouth and pull the trigger.
Look at Destiny 1. DLC and further content was paywalled for $10 to $20, like what the fuck? And Assassin's Creed Unity launched a bug-filled mess, and you can't really play a Bethesda game without finding a glitch within the first hour. This is where people are becoming more frustrated and annoyed with games that feel unfinished, boring, and a waste of time. Oh, and money. Tons of games to look out for on the PS5, such as Spider-Man 2, which comes out this year, Death Stranding 2, which hasn't been announced, and neither has Wolverine. And all these games generally look fantastic. You can definitely feel, though, everyone's fatigue of superheroes in the last 5 years. But if Wolverine is anything like the new Spider-Man games, it'll bang harder than your mom. Not many people have all 3 consoles, and if you don't want to spend the $1,200 to pay for all of them, Well, you're in luck. Remember how I said I'd be discussing the big three? Well, I lied. There's a fourth behemoth that enters the battle, and it's the PC, the personal computer, the desktop, the internet box. Most people nowadays have a computer in their home, and it doesn't even have to be this state-of-the-art $6,000 computer with 15 monitors, giga gaming chair, masterclass keyboard and mouse with every RGB light seizing your brain into mush. I had a $400 laptop with terrible specs, and I was still able to play the shit out of Binding of Isaac, League of Legends,
Stick some iron in your mouth.
Minecraft, Terraria, Borderlands, Don't Starve. I mean, the list really does go on. For example, you can play some of the recommended games on PC right now.
Oh, but I thought you said those were all exclusives.
Well, I lied again. I didn't try to, just many games get ported at a later time, and it is what it is. Particularly if you want to play any Xbox Series X exclusive, you can play it right now on PC. Because Microsoft doesn't just own Xbox, no. They own Windows. What? Just grab the Xbox Game Pass. It has incredible value and lets you try a massive library of games from old to new. The PlayStation exclusives will be hit and miss on what you can find. The new generation of God of War came out in 2018 on PS4 and released on Steam in 2022, which means it may be a while until you see God of War Ragnarok ported, but still something to look forward to. Nintendo literally doesn't port any of their character-based games, such as Mario, Link, or Kirby, to PC because they suck. They're money-hungry IP milkers. And since we're on the topic of the PC, here's 2 games that you should 100% play right now. I have such a fun time playing BattleBit Remastered, both with and without friends. The voice communication in the game shows that everyone is having a great time. They're role-playing, they're screaming with joy. Developers made it a safe space for people who don't want to constantly hear slurs and insults because they IP ban them in their voice moderation system. The gameplay is incredibly fun, mixed with a great progression system to use other guns, attachments, character customization, and a ton of different maps and game modes. You'll easily make your money's worth back from the amazing experience at only $15. Everyone has been raving about Baldur's Gate 3, including myself and my friends. We originally bought this game on early access back in 2020. There were a good bit of bugs and glitches, but the foundation was there. The full release happened a few weeks ago, and we haven't been able to stop playing. Every part of gameplay is dynamic, and you can approach every situation differently, either by your class, your subclass, your race, your choices, dialogue, who you want or don't want in your party, sex. There are sex scenes that you can have by building relationships. The turn-based gameplay always feels different, and the AI in this game is incredibly smart, making combat reasonably difficult. The game has gained so much attention by the entire industry that companies are putting out statements and notices that this type of game should not be the industry standard. We can't make a game like that, so enjoy the battle passes, the costly DLCs, and the early access product while we try to figure out if we want to even finish the game. If this doesn't convince you to play the game, well, the developer, Larian Studios, was asked if there would be microtransactions and paid DLCs or cosmetics within the game, and they said this: no, there are no in-game purchases in our game. We believe in providing a complete and immersive gaming experience without the need for additional purchases. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Yes! 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 It's like there were angels sent from above. This is the biggest W I've ever seen a company put out, ever, in the modern day. So we can say, suck it to the following companies. Now we're at the end, and that's my list. If any of you play what I recommended or have played in the past, let me know. Because one comment equals minus $1 to those big stinky corporations. I mean, hey, we gotta start somewhere. Anyways, I'm gonna go have a no more G in Baldur's Gate 3, and I'll see you next time.
Congratulations, you won.